In practice, it amounted to not taxing 40 to 90% of the profits that were made by the company in Belgium.
So Ludo, today we're going to be discussing the excess profit tax scheme. The European Commission has decided it goes against EU state aid rules. What's your opinion on this, and can you tell the audience a little bit about the scheme?
We have to go back to 2004 when the scheme was introduced by the then government of Prime Minister Verhofstadt. This is the gentleman who's now the leader of the Liberal fraction in the European Parliament. Sometimes he can be very vociferous. I don't know if some of the viewers might know who we're talking about. So the measure was introduced by the then socialist Minister for Justice, Mrs. Onkelings. Again, this for the Belgian viewers will be important, and Mr. Reinders. So from 2005 onwards, the Belgian authorities gave the possibility to negotiate a ruling with the tax authorities whereby it was possible not to pay any taxes on what are called excess profits. This was a scheme that was only applicable to multinational companies, and it's been granted in total to 35 companies since 2005. It effectively amounted to not taxing an element of profit which related to the fact that you belonged to a multinational. So this gave a certain number of advantages, like access to markets, the use of the international reputation of the multinational, management capabilities, synergies, economies of scale. One can say that it's reasonably theoretical, all of this, but in practice it amounted to not taxing 40 to 90% of the profits that were made by the company in Belgium. So quite substantial revenues were gained in this way. So that's effectively what the scheme is about. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it definitely seems to have made it appealing to do business in Belgium. So as a director of a company in Belgium, now that the European Commission has made this statement, has it jeopardized companies and their opinions of doing business in Belgium?
Yeah, I think you have to make the distinction between, on the one hand, the different types of companies. So effectively, if you look at it, it wasn't granted to too many companies. 35 is not a lot. But for Belgium, it was very important to attract these businesses to Belgium. So on the one hand, you have these companies, which clearly stated immediately after the European Commission decided that it was illegal in its opinion. In the first place, we would never have come to Belgium if it wouldn't have been for these schemes. We could have gone to Ireland or Switzerland or Sweden, which were the countries that were mentioned. So for these companies, I think it's quite important. Now, what is, from the Belgian government's perspective, the most prevalent problem is, of course, that the whole atmosphere of certainty, which was advertised as being part of the scheme by the authorities in Belgium, they cannot argue that it's available any longer. So that's really the main problem, that it's possible that the impact of the decision of the European Commission will be retroactive, so that people will have to go back in time and possibly have to pay back these taxes. So that's the big problem.
And a figure that's been noted is 700 million euros. So although 35 multinational companies doesn't seem like a lot, the money behind it is really...
I agree, yeah. The figure of 700 is actually a figure that is until the end of 2013. So it's, well, we know now that it's already more, 850. But possibly if you look at it until the time that the rulings were granted, it's going to be more than even that figure. Yeah.
Is it realistic?
So the amounts are quite substantial. I agree. Yeah.
And is it realistic for this amount to be recovered from the companies?
At present, the Belgian government is negotiating with the European Commission to see how well a solution from their perspective can be found. But well, the Belgian government also talks about the possibility of going to the European Court of Justice if these negotiations don't go in their favor. So my idea would be that that the Belgian government will have to ask back these monies, which then in turn will open the gates for the possibility of these companies suing the Belgian government. So it's very complicated, you can imagine. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it seems like an ongoing process that won't be really resolved anytime soon.
No, this can last. Well, a typical court case before the European Court of Justice can last years, so it depends. Yeah. Mm.
So it's to be continued. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, that's all for myself and Ludo, but for all the latest Dukascopy updates and exclusive interviews, do keep clicking back. Goodbye for now.